Alright, so this is the second video. Okay, so this video is going to be about standard number 2, which is self-awareness, and standard standard number 3, cross-cultural knowledge. And this is pretty much common information that you should already be aware of, but again, this is just a review, just to get it out there verbally, so those of you who are auditory learners can hear it as well as see it and all that. So standard number 2 is self-awareness, which we've already talked about in the previous video. Self-awareness is knowing yourself, and it really takes you examining yourself as a person, as an individual, because you can be raised in a family and your family has norms and values, but as you get older and you break apart from your family, you start developing your own thoughts and your own values and morals and beliefs and thought processes and things like that. So self-awareness, and just to read what the standard says: social workers shall develop an understanding of their own personal and cultural values and beliefs as a first step in appreciating the importance of multicultural identities in the lives of people. So, we need to look in deeper into ourselves and just figure out, am I the kind of person who respects other people's cultures? Am I okay with people who don't celebrate the way that I celebrate? Am I the kind of person who I don't like people due to the color of their skin? Like, these are real things that you have to ask yourself, because if you have any kind of prejudices of a certain group of people based on their race, their religion, their ethnicity, their background, then you have to be aware of that, or their life choices. If someone, again, these are the main ones: if they choose not to be heterosexual, if they choose not to believe in God, if they choose not to just to share the same beliefs that you have to be aware that that's something that affects you. And if it is, you don't need to serve those kind of people. You need to be able to refer out, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it kind of is. Like, as a social worker, you have to be non-judgmental, but the fact that you can acknowledge that you have issues with or disagreements with certain things, that's good on your part as a social worker. Let's see what this document says. Anything that I want to point out: the workers' self-awareness of their own cultural identities is fundamental to practice, as the informed assumptions about clients' cultural backgrounds and experiences in the U.S. And that's another thing. Most of us are here in the United States. Our culture as a whole, the Western culture as a whole, generally is a lot different than other cultures from different regions and parts of the world. So we have to be aware of what our culture is here in the United States. For instance, we speak English primarily, although we do encompass a lot of different other languages. We primarily speak English, and so we may work. For example, I work at the police department as a victim advocate. I had a victim of armed robbery in December, and they didn't speak English, and so I wrote a letter to them letting them know that I understand that there's a language barrier, but that I can accommodate for them if they need me to provide someone that speaks their language. I didn't hear back from them until this month, which is July. So 7 whole months went by and I wasn't able to communicate with these victims, but they took that letter that I wrote and they took it to a lawyer in New York who speaks their native tongue, which is Mandarin, and I've been communicating with them through the lawyer, and it's 7 months later, but it's very hard to find someone in this local area that speaks Mandarin. So I'm just happy that we're able to help them, even though it's 7 months later. So we have to be aware of our culture as the United States as a whole, and then smaller cultures within, the East Coast, the West Coast, up north, down south, the Midwest. All those different regions have different kind of cultures. Um, let's see. Cultural competence includes knowing and acknowledging how fears, ignorance, and the isms such as racism, sexism, ethnocentrism, heterosexism, ageism, classism have influenced their attitudes, beliefs, and feelings. So we just have to be aware of everything. And, sometimes as Americans, we can be biased to our own culture. And therefore, we feel that our culture is the dominant one, which it is, you know. Um, but we have to accommodate those who come here as social workers because we're here to help people who may not have a voice, and who may be oppressed, and people from different areas that don't speak the language. They need us. So that's that. Okay, so standard number 3 is cross-cultural knowledge, and it says social workers shall have and continue to develop specialized knowledge and understanding about the history, traditions, values, family systems, and artistic expressions of major client groups served. So this is about continuing your education about other cultures. So you can't go to 1 2-hour class on Native Americans and feel like you're competent on Native American values, traditions, and norms. You can't go to a 2-day class on Asian Americans and know that and feel like you know everything you need to know for the next 10 years in your position as a social worker. You have to constantly go into continuing education, professional development, independent study and learning about cultures, especially if you live in an area where it's concentrated by a certain group of people from a certain background. You need to be very knowledgeable of that background, and you need to always look for opportunities to learn about that culture, to unlearn about, what you thought may have been true of that culture and it's not. Let's see what else this says. So it says social workers need to possess specific knowledge about the particular providers and client groups they work with, including a range of historical experiences, resettlement patterns, individual group oppression, adjustment styles, socioeconomic backgrounds, life processes, learning styles, cognitive skills, worldviews, and it goes on and on with several other things. So you just need to be aware across cultures and consistently, progressively, and continually learn about these other cultures. All right, so that's the brief summary of that one. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment box. You can send me an email. You can go to my website, daytodaysocialwork.wix.com/my site. And please like and subscribe and share with your colleagues and your friends. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.